Good morning, Timberwolves. Miss Robolino coming in today on a brand new unit. We are starting a new unit called the Civil War unit. What I love about this unit is that it is going to be looking at the effects or the everlasting effects that have been left on the United States. So to go ahead and assist you with understanding the terminology and being able to understand what's going on within this time period, we are going to start our vocabulary. So please make sure at this time that you go ahead and set up a brand new unit page in your ISN and label it the early causes of the Civil War. We like to go ahead and split up the unit into two different parts, the early causes and then the Civil War itself. So just take a moment and think, when is your vocab quiz going to be? And you can kind of take a look. It's going to be January 21st. We also will have our exam on January 25th on the early causes. So please make sure that you are taking really good copious notes, you are organizing yourself, and you are preparing for your first unit exam for this fourth 6 weeks. So let's go ahead and let's start thinking about the warm-up question. What is the Civil War and what caused it? Take a moment and pause the video and think about your answer. So to go ahead, I want to introduce these words to you. And then from there, your job is to go ahead and figure out where this term belongs. So you're going to look at the term and then look at the picture and use the worksheet that you were given or grabbed coming in and find out where it belongs best. So please make sure you take your time and you think about it. So let's go ahead and let's start with our first term. So black codes, take a look and kind of see what's happening. What do you see? What do you think would best fit with that? Popular sovereignty, take a look at the picture. What do you see? What's happening? Sharecropping, okay, what do you see? What do you see? Where do you think, what do you think's happening? So again, take a moment, read what you have seen there and see that it is a cycle. Reconstruction, okay, think of the word and look at the picture. Reconstruction. Anaconda plan. Okay, it's a plan shaped like some type of reptile. Cotton clads. Take a look at the picture. What do you see? Freedmen's Bureau. Freedmen's Bureau. Take a look at the picture. What's happening? What do you think would best fit this word? Appomattox Courthouse. Appomattox Courthouse. Now take a look at the picture. You can see there's two people and they're shaking hands. And obviously they have swords with them and they just seem to be just settling down and agreeing on something. What do you think that is? Plantation system. Plantation system. Civil War. Now, again, go back and think about your answers in the warm-up. What is a Civil War? Why do you think it was caused? Emancipation Proclamation. Okay, take a moment and think. Emancipation Proclamation. And take a look at the stamp in 1863 by Abraham Lincoln. Jim Crow laws. Prejudice, segregation, casualty, institution. Okay, these are the vocabulary terms that you are going to be responsible for. So please make sure that you go through. At this time, you should be able to do the assignment that was given by your teacher, and then from there, this is where we will go over it. Please pause the video at this point. Okay, All right, so now that you have gone over this vocabulary terminology, please tape this into your ISN to go ahead and be able to study these words. Here are some tips to help you. Take a moment and look at the vocabulary definitions. You may want to highlight some areas that will help you understand, or consider rewriting the definition into shorter definitions that will assist you, or focus on the terms that you feel will be more difficult for you to understand. All of these terms are going to be focusing on parts of the Civil War, and pre-Civil War, as well as during the Civil War, and the lasting effects, the Reconstruction portion of the Civil War as well. Okay, so at this point, please collect your Civil War cause quiz for Brain Pop. I'm going to go ahead and show the Brain Pop right now. So just be sure to go ahead and answer these questions after watching the video. Let me go ahead and show you that video right now.
What? I'm not on your side. All right, all right. You didn't have to wake me up, you know. Dear Tim and Moby, my older brother says the Civil War was all about states' rights. I always thought it was about slavery. Which is it? From Sopot. Well, both. It's complicated, but historians still argue about what exactly caused the Civil War. First, let's get the basics out of the way. In 1860 and 1861, 11 southern states seceded. That means they left the United States to make their own country. They called themselves the Confederate States of America, or the Confederacy. The 24 states that stayed with the U.S. were called the Union. In April of 1861, Confederate troops fired on Union soldiers at Fort Sumter in South Carolina. The Civil War began. President Abraham Lincoln knew that if he let states secede from the country whenever they wanted, it would set a bad example for the future. Anytime a state didn't like the rules, they could just leave. But that's just what the Confederate States did. They believed in states' rights. That's the idea that each state gets to make its own laws. The 10th Amendment of the Constitution does give each state the right to make its own laws as long as they don't go against federal law. North and South disagreed about how powerful those federal laws should be. In 1832, South Carolina almost seceded over this argument in the nullification crisis. South Carolina wanted the right to nullify or cancel a federal tariff that was hurting its economy. Oh, a tariff is basically a tax, usually on trade. Tariffs usually favored northern industry and hurt southern farmers. Many historians argue that the main reason the southern states seceded was over states' rights, but others think that the main issue was slavery. By the time the U.S. Constitution was adopted in 1787, most of the states north of Delaware had made slavery illegal. They felt that slavery went against everything the United States was all about. From then until the Civil War, slavery divided the North and the South. Free states were especially worried about the Louisiana Purchase lands bought from France in 1803. They didn't want any new states to be pro-slavery. In 1820, northern and southern states agreed to the Missouri Compromise. It basically divided the Louisiana Purchase evenly between slavery and freedom, and it set a balancing rule so that for every free state that joined the Union, a slave state would also join. But in 1854, Southern politicians managed to pass the Kansas-Nebraska Act. It repealed the Compromise of 1820 and said that any new state could be a slave state if it wanted to. The Supreme Court supported the Kansas-Nebraska Act with their infamous Dred Scott decision. Dred Scott was a slave whose owner traveled throughout free states and territories. The court said that even when he traveled to free states, Scott still belonged to his owner. It also said that African Americans could never be U.S. citizens, and that slave owners from the South could keep their slaves if they moved to free states. Yeah, right? This angered abolitionists. Those were people who were actively against slavery. So, there you have it. The states' rights and slavery issues both increased the differences between the North and the South. And President Lincoln was a strong opponent of both. The Southern states seceded shortly after his election in 1860. Actually, not all the Union states in the Civil War were free states. Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, Missouri, and what would become West Virginia were pro-slavery but anti-secession. These border states fought with the Union to keep the country together. I know it's a lot of ground to cover, and believe me, there's a lot more detail if you're interested in it. By the way, you're on my side.
All right, so that concludes our lesson for today. So please make sure at this point in time that you hand in your quiz or go over it if there is time, and then go ahead and start studying and preparing for tomorrow's lesson on the early causes of the Civil War. All right, Timberwolves, I will see you later.